Most people don't realize this, but if you're constantly buying fertilizer, there's a good chance your soil is actually getting weaker, not stronger. And that sounds backwards, right? Because we're taught that fertilizer equals growth, more nutrients, faster results, greener plants. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Soil doesn't work like a fuel tank you refill. Soil works like a living system, and living systems don't respond well to shortcuts. What I'm about to show you isn't a trick, and it's not a miracle. It's something so basic, so unprofitable for the industry, that it's quietly ignored. Old branches, dry leaves, woody debris, the things most people remove from their garden are often the exact things the soil is starving for. If that sounds too simple, stay with me, because once you understand why this works, you'll never look at soil the same way again. Here's the first mistake most people make. They think plants feed directly on fertilizer. They don't. Plants feed on what soil life produces. Fertilizer skips that relationship entirely. It forces nutrients into the system without building the system itself. Now think about this. In a forest, nobody spreads fertilizer, yet trees grow taller, stronger, and healthier than anything we try to force in a garden. The difference isn't magic, it's structure. Fallen branches don't disappear overnight. They break down slowly, and that slowness is exactly the point. When woody material rests on the soil, it creates a stable environment where fungi can dominate, and fungi are the real engineers of fertile soil. Unlike bacteria, which respond quickly and burn through nutrients fast, fungi work slowly. They bind soil particles together. They transport minerals across distances. They store nutrients and release them only when plants signal that they need them. Fertilizer can't do that. It never could. This is where expensive products fall short. They feed the plant for a moment, but they starve the soil long term. Old branches do the opposite. They don't feed the plant directly. They build the underground network that feeds everything. And here's something most people never hear. When you add woody material to the soil surface, you're not just adding carbon, you're regulating temperature, moisture, and biological rhythm. Soil covered with branches and leaves doesn't overheat. It doesn't dry out as fast. It doesn't collapse into dust. That alone changes everything. Bare soil is stress soil. Covered soil is active soil. Now let's talk about cost, because this matters. Fertilizers demand repetition. You buy them again and again because their effect fades quickly. Branches don't. One application can improve soil structure for years. Years. That's not an accident. It's economics. There's no money in telling people to stop cleaning their garden too much. But here's where people get confused, and this is important. Using branches doesn't mean throwing random wood everywhere and hoping for the best. The placement matters, the timing matters, and the expectations matter. This isn't about instant results. If you're looking for a dramatic change in 2 weeks, fertilizer will always win. But if you're building soil for seasons, for resilience, for plants that don't collapse at the first stressed branches, outperform every bag on the shelf. Think of it like this. Fertilizer is caffeine. Branches are nutrition. One stimulates, the other builds. And once you see soil this way, something interesting happens. You stop fighting nature, and you start collaborating with it. Instead of forcing growth, you create conditions where growth becomes inevitable. Here's another benefit that almost nobody talks about. Pest resistance. Healthy soil creates plants with thicker cell walls, balanced nutrient profiles, and stronger immune responses. Pests are opportunists. They attack weak systems. Branch-fed soil produces plants that are simply less attractive targets. That's not theory. That's observable. And let me be clear. This doesn't mean you can never use fertilizer again. It means fertilizer becomes optional, not foundational. The foundation becomes biology, structure, and time. If you've ever wondered why you keep feeding your plants and they still look stressed, this is why. You're feeding the surface, not the system. Now here's the part most people miss. And this is where everything clicks. Old branches don't just feed soil life. They slow everything down. And slowing down is exactly what modern soil needs. Fast inputs create fast losses. Slow inputs create stability. Water stays longer. Nutrients cycle instead of leaching. Roots grow deeper because conditions are safer below the surface. And the soil starts working for you instead of demanding constant correction. If you're still with me, here's the real takeaway. The goal isn't growth. The goal is function. Growth is a side effect of a functioning system. That's why forests thrive without intervention. That's why gardens struggled when we overmanaged them. So next time you're about to remove branches, rake leaves, or spend money on another product promising instant results, pause. Ask yourself what you're actually building, a temporary boost, or a system that sustains itself. Because once soil learns how to feed itself, it doesn't forget. If this perspective helped you rethink how soil really works, take a second to like this video. It tells the algorithm this kind of content matters. And if you want more practical, no hype explanations like this, subscribe to the channel. You don't need more products, you need better understanding. And that's exactly what we're building here. And there's another layer to this that almost no one talks about, because it forces you to rethink how success in gardening is measured. Most people judge soil by how plants look today. Green leaves, fast growth, visible results. But healthy soil isn't optimized for speed, it's optimized for continuity. And that's where branches completely change the equation. When woody material sits on the soil, it creates what ecologists call a buffered system. That means the soil stops reacting violently to every external change. Heat waves don't shock it as much. Heavy rain doesn't wash everything away. Dry periods don't shut biological activity down completely. Fertilizer-driven soil, on the other hand, is reactive. It spikes and crashes. It depends on constant intervention. Miss one application and performance drops. That's not resilience. That's dependency. Branches quietly remove that dependency. Here's why that matters more than people realize. Plants don't fail because of a single bad day. They fail because of repeated stress. Small stresses stacking over time. Temperature swings, moisture swings, nutrient swings. Branch-covered soil smooths those swings up. And once stress is reduced, something interesting happens underground. Roots change behavior. In unstable soil, roots stay shallow. They're cautious. They spread horizontally, chasing quick nutrients. In stable soil, roots go down. They invest. They explore deeper layers because conditions feel predictable. That shift alone changes everything about plant health. Deeper roots mean better access to minerals, better anchoring, better drought tolerance. And none of that comes from a bag. Now, let's address a common fear people have at this point. They think, if I add branches, won't they steal nutrients while they break down? And technically, yes, temporarily. But that's not a flaw. That's a feature. That short-term nutrient tie-up forces the system to rely on biology instead of free-floating nutrients. Fungi step-eating mycorrhizal networks expand. Nutrients stop being loose and start being managed. And once decomposition stabilizes, those nutrients don't disappear. They're stored, cycled, and released with precision. Fertilizer dumps nutrients into the soil and hopes roots catch them in time. Branches create a system that holds nutrients until plants actually ask for them. That difference is everything. Another overlooked effect is how branches change human behavior. This sounds strange, but it matters. When soil's covered, people interfere less. They water less, they dig less, they stop fixing problems that aren't really problems. And the less you disturb soil, the more intelligent it becomes. Disturbance resets progress. Stability compounds it. That's why soils that are left alone but fed with organic structure improve exponentially over time. Each season builds on the last instead of starting from zero. This is also why many people think this method doesn't work. They try it for a short period, don't see dramatic change, and go back to quick fixes. What they don't realize is that soil memory exists. Once disrupted, it takes time to rebuild. Branches aren't a shortcut. They're a correction. And corrections don't feel exciting at first. They feel slow, quiet, almost boring, until one day you notice you're watering less. Problems appear less often. Plants stop demanding attention. The system starts carrying itself. That's when you realize something important. Productivity isn't about doing more. It's about needing to do less. There's also a philosophical shift here that's worth mentioning. Modern gardening teaches control. Natural systems teach cooperation. Branches are a symbol of that shift. They represent trust in processes older than any product label. You're not feeding soil with branches because it's trendy. You're doing it because ecosystems have already solved this problem, and they solved it without invoices. Now, none of this means branches are a universal solution for every scenario. Context always matters. Climate matters. Plant type matters. But the principle holds across environments. Structure before stimulation. If you stimulate without structure, you get fragile growth. If you build structure first, stimulation becomes optional. That's why the smartest growers don't ask, "What can I add?" They ask, "What can I stop removing?" And in most cases, the answer is organic material. So here's a simple mental shift you can take with you. Stop seeing branches as waste. See them as delayed nutrition, as insurance, as infrastructure. Every branch you leave on the soil is a future you don't have to manage manually. And that's the part nobody sells you, because it reduces consumption. If this video helped you see soil differently, do two things before you leave. First, like the video. It helps this kind of content reach people who are tired of being sold solutions instead of understanding systems. Second, subscribe if you want more explanations like this. Practical, grounded, and focused on long-term results instead of hype. Because once you understand how soil really works, you stop chasing fixes. You start building foundations, and foundations are what last.